Longsword. The longsword was the defining weapon of the medieval knight. Longer than a standard sword, it was designed to be used with both hands, giving the wielder greater reach and striking power. The blade was straight, double-edged, and typically between 3 and 4 feet long. Knights trained for years to master its techniques, which included not just slashing, but also thrusting through gaps in armor. By the 13th century, it had become the most respected weapon on the European battlefield. Shortsword. The short sword was a lighter, faster alternative to the longsword, better suited for close quarters combat. Its compact blade made it easy to carry in tight spaces like castle corridors or dense forest skirmishes. Common soldiers and mercenaries favored it because it required less training than longer blades. Many knights carried one as a secondary weapon when fighting on foot in confined terrain. Dagger. The dagger was the most personal weapon a medieval fighter could carry. Small enough to hide under a cloak, it served as both a tool and a last resort in combat. In battle, it was often used to finish a fallen opponent by finding gaps in their armor. The misericord, a narrow-bladed variant, was specifically designed for this purpose and was sometimes called the mercy blade. Arming sword. The arming sword was the standard one-handed sword of the medieval period. Lighter and more balanced than the longsword, it was designed to be used alongside a shield. It was the weapon a soldier reached for first, reliable in almost any situation. Most knights owned at least one, and it remained in widespread use across Europe for several centuries. Mace. The mace was built for one purpose, to defeat armor. Where a blade might deflect off plate metal, the mace delivered concentrated blunt force directly to the body beneath. Made from iron or steel, its head was fitted with flanges or knobs to concentrate impact. It became especially popular among knights and even some clergy, since striking with blunt force was considered more acceptable than drawing blood in certain religious traditions. Warhammer. The warhammer emerged as a direct response to the increasing quality of plate armor in the 14th and 15th centuries. Its pointed rear spike could punch through steel that would stop almost any blade. Soldiers called it the murder stroke, a brutal but effective technique in close combat. It required strength to use well, but in the right hands, it made even the heaviest armor vulnerable. Flail. The flail consisted of a handle connected by a chain to one or more weighted balls, sometimes spiked. Its flexible design meant that it could wrap around a shield or bypass a block in ways that rigid weapons could not. It was unpredictable, which made it both dangerous to opponents and difficult to master. Despite its fearsome reputation, it was never as widely used as swords or axes, partly because it was just as likely to injure the user in a chaotic melee. Battle axe. The battle axe was a weapon built on raw simplicity. A heavy steel head mounted on a wooden shaft, it could split shields, shatter helmets, and bring down opponents with a single well-placed strike. Vikings made it famous centuries before the medieval period reached its peak, but it remained a staple weapon through the Crusades and beyond. Some versions were designed with a long spike on top, making them effective for thrusting as well as chopping. Halberd. The halberd combined an axe blade, a steel spike, and a hook on a single long pole, making it one of the most versatile weapons of the later medieval period. Infantry units could use it to keep mounted cavalry at a distance, hook riders off their horses, or drive the spike through armor in a direct thrust. Swiss and German soldiers became particularly skilled with it, and for a time it was considered the most effective anti-cavalry weapon available to foot soldiers. Pike. The pike was essentially a very long spear, sometimes reaching up to 20 feet in length. Its power came not from individual skill, but from mass formation. Rows of soldiers holding pikes created a wall of steel points that cavalry simply could not charge through. Armies that mastered pike formations became nearly unstoppable in open field battles. The weapon required discipline more than strength, and in the right hands, it transformed the way medieval commanders thought about infantry tactics. Spear. The spear was the oldest weapon on the medieval battlefield and also the most common. Easy to produce, simple to use, and effective against both infantry and cavalry, it was the weapon most ordinary soldiers carried. A trained spearman could hold off a much larger opponent, and in formation, spear walls were one of the most reliable defensive tactics of the era. While knights favored swords, the spear remained the true backbone of most medieval armies. Lance. The lance was a spear built specifically for use on horseback. Longer and heavier than a standard spear, it was designed to deliver the full momentum of a charging horse into a single point of impact. Knights couched it under their arm to absorb the shock of impact, and a direct hit at full gallop could unhorse almost any opponent. Tournaments built entire events around lance combat, and it became one of the most iconic images of medieval warfare. Crossbow. The crossbow changed warfare in ways that made many nobles uncomfortable. A soldier with weeks of training could fire a bolt powerful enough to penetrate plate armor, threatening knights who had spent years and fortunes preparing for battle. The church attempted to ban it at various points, considering it an unchivalrous weapon. Those bans were largely ignored. By the time of the 100 Years' War, crossbowmen were among the most valued soldiers on any battlefield. Longbow. The longbow in the hands of an English or Welsh archer was one of the deadliest weapons of the medieval world. A skilled archer could release 10 or more arrows per minute, each capable of traveling over 200 yards. At the Battle of Agincourt in 1415, a relatively small English force devastated a much larger French army, largely because of its longbow archers. Training began in childhood, and the physical demands were so great that the skeletons of longbowmen often show permanent skeletal deformities from years of practice. Trebuchet. The trebuchet was the most powerful siege weapon of the medieval period. Using a counterweight system rather than tension or torsion, it could hurl stones weighing hundreds of pounds over castle walls with remarkable accuracy. Commanders used it not just to destroy walls, but to spread fear, sometimes launching diseased corpses or beehives into besieged cities. Building one required skilled engineers and significant resources, but a single trebuchet could decide the outcome of a siege. Ballista. The ballista looked like an enormous crossbow mounted on a frame. It fired large bolts or stones with tremendous force and accuracy, making it effective against both fortifications and groups of soldiers. Roman armies had used it centuries earlier, and medieval forces adapted the design for castle defense and siege warfare. Unlike the trebuchet, which was built to destroy walls, the ballista was precise enough to target individuals or small groups at long range. Battering ram. The battering ram was one of the oldest siege tools in existence, and medieval armies used it exactly as armies had for thousands of years before them. A heavy log, sometimes capped with iron shaped like a ram's head, was suspended from a frame and swung repeatedly against gates or walls. Attackers covered the ram with a protective roof to shield operators from defenders, dropping stones or boiling liquid from above. Simple as it was, it remained effective as long as castle gates were made of wood. Mangonel. The mangonel was a torsion-powered catapult that used twisted rope or sinew to store energy and launch projectiles at high speed. Less powerful than the trebuchet, but faster to build and operate, it was a common sight in medieval sieges. Armies on the move valued it because it could be assembled and disassembled relatively quickly. It was particularly effective at targeting troops on walls rather than the walls themselves, clearing defenders before an assault.